see Willow was the first in the house. Huckleberry, what's up? Let the room fill up for a little bit. What's up, Doc Angel? Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for the 5x5, Huckleberry. KC, what's up, sister? Caitlin Hill, thank you. Miss Sharon, hello. Yeah, we're up close and personal to the campfire tonight, folks. Finally broke down and bought myself a little tripod here, so moved it over from the picnic table the last few times I've been doing these broadcasts. I brought it up next to the campfire. Got my little bistro table here next to me with the coffee and all my other necessary items I need. The temperature today up here in southern New England was about 52 degrees. Overcast skies. It was the skies were overcast all weekend long. I actually wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to do this out here tonight, or if I was gonna have to bring it up on the deck over here. That's attached to the camper. So I do have a covered deck, and that was my plan B, because we all have to have plan Bs, right? Cold and crummy here, yeah, and you're right above me, Doc Angel. I mean, I'm used to these temperatures. Not so much for June, but I am accustomed to, I'm not like really too shocked that it's in the 50s right now in early June. You know, we get some weird weather up here in New England, but you know, I did want to bring you guys closer to the campfire to make it more of a comfortable atmosphere for everybody. And I hope that's making a difference for y'all. Low 80s in East Tennessee. What's up, prepping artists? Hey, it's good to see everybody in the chat. What do I got? All right, I got a decent number for my channel. All right, folks. Life is tough, but it's tougher if you're stupid. Okay? That quote is brought to you by, I don't know if you can see it, but this is this week's John Wayne t-shirt that I'm wearing. If you all were here last week and the weeks before that, I sport a different John Wayne t-shirt every week that has a different quote on it. So, life is tough. It's tougher if you're stupid. All right. Again, I praise the man John Wayne. He was like a father figure to me. He still is. He's a man's man. And in my opinion, he's America's hero. America needs more John Wayne. All right. So I think I'm ready to rock and roll here. All right. I got the coffee. Got the campfire. I got the can of Coke sitting here in the back pocket. All right, we'll throw that on the table. And I got my handy dandy notebook. All right. This week's broadcast, folks. Hat tip, by the way, to Casey Littlewell. She has thrown some information my way. I like to talk about foreign affairs that's going on, in this world. I think it's something that's very important to talk about. So that's why I talk about what's going on overseas. And I've been talking a lot about China and what's coming with that, what's expected with that. And I decided I wanted to change gears and start focusing more on the Ukraine-Russia conflict. And with that said, I was doing a lot of research over the course of the week for tonight's broadcast about Ukraine and Russia. And Casey Littlewell ended up sending me some decent information, okay, that I wanted to add into the broadcast tonight. So at the bottom of the video, you will see in my description links to the articles that I'm getting this information from. Okay, that's credit to those folks that actually do the work. All right, I'm just here to talk about it and report on it. All right, bear with me. I got my little lantern here to help me with the broadcast. I always put it, I always paraphrase it, put it into my own words for the most part. So let's get right into it, folks. So we're going to be talking about Air Defender 2023 that's going to be occurring actually in the coming weeks, very shortly. Where are we at today? We're at June 5th. So they're going to be starting to kick off this Air Defender 2023 on June 12th, and that's going to run for 9 or 10 days. All right, so what is Air Defender 2023? Basically, it's a joint military exercise consisting of 25 nations, and it's set to take place over the European skies from June 12th until June 23rd. This exercise will be the largest military exercise ever carried out by NATO. Okay, chew on that for a second, folks. Largest military exercise ever carried out by NATO. And the only thing I can like that too is if anybody's ever seen Independence Day, the movie Independence Day, with Will Smith, alien invasion on July 4th and all that fun stuff. Towards the end of the movie, they came up with a plan to fight back, and they pretty much got all of the air forces around the globe to team up and go against these alien spaceships up in the sky. And that's the first thing I thought of when I started reading about Air Defender 2023. All right. The main focus of this exercise, like I said, it's the largest military exercise ever carried out by NATO, and it will involve 10,000 participants, okay, and over 220 aircraft. All right, that's military airplanes, from fighter jets to bombers to reconnaissance aircraft, you name it, okay? And the main focus of this massive military drill, okay, they're calling it a drill, is to create a scenario involving air warfare operations for friendly and allied air forces. Moreover, Air Defender 2023 intends to show the NATO alliance's superior strength. Okay. This scenario will demonstrate how NATO air forces would respond or react to a military crisis. The drill will be under the command of the German Air Force, or the Luftwaffe. Okay. Germany will act as the collective defense hub for the European airspace in that part of the world. Air Defender 2023 will be the most extensive deployment exercise of air forces in the history of NATO. All right. So why are we talking about this tonight, guys? Why is that important to know? And what's that have to do with us? Well, as I read on in the broadcast, I'm going to be talking about where exactly in the European skies that Air Defender 2023 will be taking place. And once I make that known, it's going to raise some antennas, okay? And you can come up with your own conclusions. I believe the author of this article came up with his conclusions, and I tend to share his sentiment. So let's move forward with this. All right, there is widespread speculation that NATO could be using the exercise as a cover for an actual military operation. Okay, because NATO hasn't used military exercises for covers for military operations anytime in the past, right? I mean, if I remember correctly, and anybody here, you can chime in, but there was a military exercise conducted by NATO very recently, and something happened. Something blew up. Some pipeline blew up underneath the sea over there when NATO was conducting that air exercise, or that military exercise, I'm sorry. All right, so Pilgrim Prepper, what's up? Good to see you here. All right, so keep that in mind. All right, and why would NATO be using this exercise, this drill, all right, as a cover to start some shit? All right, I mean, could it be? And I'm just asking here, you know, I don't want to give out any misinformation. All right, God forbid I do that on this platform. I will ask questions though, but could it be because perhaps Ukraine really isn't faring too well in this conflict with Russia? Okay, I mean, look how much money and military aid we have sent over to Ukraine, okay? And what left do we have to give? You know what I'm saying? So what would be a good opportunity for NATO to enter this conflict? Would it be to carry out a massive military drill, the largest air operation in NATO history, right on the borders of this conflict, right? And if they did so, who's to say that maybe an incident wouldn't occur as a result of this exercise, right? I mean, let's read on. So where was I? Yep, widespread speculation that NATO could be using the exercise as a cover for an actual military operation. Reason being, this exercise is being conducted just outside Ukraine in the Russia conflict zone. All right, just like I said. So what if there's an incident, just like I asked, right? What if NATO plans to create some kind of, turning the page, incident where they can justify, okay, because they need to justify, right, NATO entry into this war, right? What would be a better justification of an incident occurring, right? And we already asked this already. Why would NATO create an incident? The reason why they create the incident is because despite all of the support, like I just said, NATO has thrown at Ukraine in the form of massive amounts of money and military weaponry, Ukraine hasn't succeeded, okay, in turning the tide of winning this fight, this war, right? NATO countries have pretty much exhausted their options by giving almost all they can give to Ukraine. So NATO is what? It's at a crossroads right now, right? Russia hasn't been defeated. We're at day 500 and what of this conflict, right? It's over 500 days. So what does NATO have to do now? They got to save face, right? They got to save face, and their only option at this point, and this is my opinion also, would be for NATO to enter the conflict directly, right? But the problem here is what, guys? All right, what has Russia not done as of yet? They haven't attacked any NATO countries yet, right? I mean, we all remember that that missile that was misguided or flew off course and landed in Poland and hit a farm and killed a couple people, and everybody was up in arms saying, "Oh, well, World War III is going to start now, right?" Well, that didn't really go as planned, right? Just saying. All right, moving forward. So yeah, Russia hasn't attacked NATO yet, right? So that's a big problem, you know, in NATO's eyes. That's just going to make it a little bit more difficult. And Ukraine is not what, guys? Ukraine's not a member of NATO. All right, that's a huge issue right there too. All right, so you got to keep that in mind. Ukraine's not a NATO member, so if Russia is at war with a non-NATO country, there's really not much we can do to enter the conflict without starting World War III, right? If now, if the script was flipped and NATO was, I'm sorry, if Ukraine was a NATO member, well, we all know the end result of that. You know, we'd be probably wouldn't even be sitting here. We'd probably be vaporized at this point because Russia has what? Nukes, right? Okay. So therefore, for NATO to enter the war, there would have to be an action or event to justify NATO to enter the fight, like we've been saying. As a result, an incident would have to happen or be created. All right. So we're looking at for the past several months, what has been being talked about. What's the big news that's been coming out of Ukraine? It's this major counteroffensive, right? That everybody's been talking about. And I think of it as like the Tet offensive back in Vietnam, if anybody's old enough to remember that and learned about that in history class, right? So the world has been hearing about the coming Ukraine counteroffensive. You know, what's the goal of this counteroffensive? Well, it's been repeatedly stated that Ukraine is going to launch a massive attack to repel Russia out of several states which voted to secede from Ukraine and join Russia. All right. So in other words, you know, Ukraine is broken up into states or territories, whatever you want to call it, similar to right here at home, right? And, you know, some of those states inside of Ukraine basically said, you know what, we're all set with Ukraine, we want to succeed, and we want to join Russia. And that's exactly what happened. Crimea is probably the most notorious example that I could use for that, right? So to regain control of these states, as of today, it appears that the long-awaited counteroffensive has begun, guys. All right, that's pretty much breaking news. All right, so this counteroffensive that's been being all hyped up and talked about, and you got the pictures of the Ukrainian soldiers, you know, on social media, you know, putting their fingers up to their lips like hush hush, right? Well, today there was some breaking news that it's being speculated that this counteroffensive has begun, okay? And Ukraine has pretty much organized and started moving in on to these territories, these states that succeeded, all right? I was trying to look for some news earlier if out of Moscow, if anything could be confirmed from that, and I was hearing different things. Moscow is saying that they have actually repelled this counteroffensive. Ukraine is denying that the counteroffensive has begun. There's different factions and components on both sides that are saying, yep, the counteroffensive has begun. So everybody's guess is as good as mine on that. But last night it was reported that the Ukrainian army appeared to have moved forward in several directions. And in addition, there were reports of a significant escalation of fighting along the front lines of the seceded states, like I just said. All right. So maybe the counteroffensive started and maybe not. And now if you take that and you put it together with this massive NATO air operation, drill, exercise, whatever you want to call it, okay, and you put it together, which is happening in the next coming days here, it pretty much makes sense, right? Hey, Sandy. Who else is in here? Just Josh, what's up, brother? Great content, my man. Love watching your stuff. You keep doing what you're doing, brother. All right. Matter of fact, shoot me an email, Just Josh. All right, I want to get at you with a couple things. All right, my email's in my description, my about section here on the channel. Thank you for being here. So, all right, we've got this shit sandwich here, right? We've got the counteroffensive that may or may not be taking place. It appears that it is, and we've got this massive military drill. All right, now all we need is some kind of incident that can be created. All right, so there's a couple scenarios that the author of the article painted, and I added in some of my own ideas to it too. So we got the first scenario for that could cause NATO to enter the conflict would be that Ukraine grants NATO permission to enter its airspace to establish a nationwide no-fly zone. Okay. Now, the problem with that is that Russia has already warned what? They already warned that if any NATO planes enter the airspace, okay, over Ukraine, over this conflict zone, that they would fire on those planes. And what's that mean if they do that? WWIII, right? I mean, it's, you know, according to the way it's written, guys, that's pretty much, and I'm not saying, you know, the article, I'm saying the NATO organization, that's pretty much what would happen, right? Russia would technically be attacking NATO members, right? And that's a big no-no. All right. So yeah, Russia has already warned that they would engage and destroy foreign aircraft if Ukraine does allow NATO fighter jets and aircraft to enter and set up a no-fly zone. Okay. Another scenario that's being talked about is, so Ukrainian F-16s, okay? And the F-16s are being supplied mainly by us, the USA, okay? And the United Kingdom, right? So we're supplying Ukraine with these F-16s, and I don't even have to read off of this, because here's what's gonna happen. All right, and if there's any military people on here, prior Air Force, you don't train to fly a fighter jet overnight, folks, okay? It takes upwards to a year to train somebody, okay, to pilot an F-16 fighter jet or any fighter jet. It takes upwards to a year. So if we're just starting to supply Ukraine with F-16 fighter jets, right? All right, bear with me here. Who's going to be flying those planes? Because technically, these Ukrainian pilots aren't going to be trained up at this time. Maybe there's a few that already have. I mean, there are stories that are being talked about that are being reported that there are Ukrainian military personnel here in the United States that are undergoing training, right? But where am I getting at here? Let's say it's U.S. pilots that are piloting these F-16s, okay, that are being supplied to Ukraine to fight this war, right? Let's say one of those planes gets shot down by the Russians. Let's say that an American pilot or a British pilot is discovered flying these planes that have been shot down or even engaged. Uh-oh. It's fucking game time, right? So there you go. That would be probably the incident that would occur. Okay? That's a good question, Miss Sharon. I wouldn't be surprised if it is. I mean, Russia and China is in bed with each other, right? They are allies. So there's that. So with that said, guys, it could be a possibility that U.S. military personnel could be flying these fighter planes, okay? And if they are, and it gets discovered, yeah, it's game time, all right? And what's that mean moving forward? Well, what does Russia have? Again, Russia has nukes. We have nukes, okay? So we got this big pot, all right? And we're throwing everything in there into this pot. We've got this military drill that's taking place next week, okay? We got this counteroffensive that's happening, all right? We've got U.S. military personnel that could be or could not be piloting these planes, these fighter jets, okay? So all the ingredients are there, guys, okay? Let's face it, this war, according to NATO, according to the U.S., should have been over. And one second after, you nailed it. We are in this, okay? We're in deep, all right? We are fucking knee deep into this, all right? So it's something to keep an eye on, all right? To pay attention to, because it's not like any of these incidents have happened in the past, right? Where the biggest example I could remember, well, being, you know, from history, is the Gulf of Tonkin event, all right, that drew the U.S. into the Vietnam War, right? It was an incident that happened that may or may not have been created, right? Again, you know, don't want to be the bearer of misinformation here, but I really think that the world, and when I say the world, I'm talking about world leaders, they really think we're a bunch of fucking morons, right? I mean, like, maybe we're sleeping under a bunch of fucking rocks. I don't know. So, I mean, it's all right there in front of you, right? What am I seeing here in the comments? Something about a stream stopped. My 5x5 guys? Miss Sharon, you're hearing me, right? Okay, all right, Pilgrim, thank you. Yeah, guys, try hitting that refresh if you're getting any interference. Thank you, Miss Sharon. So there's that, guys, all right? A lot to chew on, okay? You can draw your own conclusions. You can come up with your own thoughts and your opinions on it, but it's something that, yeah. It is. It's like they're insulting our intelligence, Casey. And I think that's fascinating because, you know, they look at us, you know, our leaders look at us like we're a bunch of fucking peons. I mean, there ain't no two ways about it. They put together these word salads that makes it sound really nice and gives us hope, and therefore we vote based on what they tell us. But here's the difference between, hey, I heard that, big chap. Here's the difference between us and those other folks out there, all right? We're awake, all right? We're aware to what is really happening, all right? Some might call that being black-pilled, okay? And that's you know, that is a fact. You know, there's just a lot of people that are under these false impressions, okay? And they're buying into all the fucking bullshit propaganda that is being spewed at them through MSM, all right? So that's pretty much it for foreign policy. Let's switch gears, guys. And this is just off the top of my mind, something I've been wanting to talk about. And it kind of goes hand in hand with what I just said about, you know, our leaders and how they gaslight us and how they treat us like we're a bunch of fucking kindergartners and don't know anything, right? Folks, make no mistake about it. There is a culture war occurring in this country. Okay? Just take a look around. All right? And what do I mean by culture war? Look at these businesses, okay, that are coinciding with what month it is. Okay? And you got to ask yourself, why are these businesses and these corporations catering to a group of individuals and pissing the rest of the country off, you know? And on the flip side, some may argue, well, Mad, you know, there's been these kind of things going on for years, for decades. You know, there's been drag shows forever. There's been this and that forever. You know, Pride Month has been around for a while. So, you know, it never bothered anybody before. But, and you know what? That is a valid point. I get it. But here's the thing. It's bothering people now. All right? And why is that? It's because more and more people are fucking waking up. All right? To the bullshit that's going on. All right? They're getting sick and tired of having shit shoved down their fucking throats and being told what they should be accepting, told how they should think about it, okay? And if they don't accept it, they're ridiculed, they're shouted down, they're called names. And I think people are just fed up, right? I mean, I think that's why there's an uproar about it now, all right? Because here's the thing, folks. I don't give a rusty rat's ass if a dude marries a dude, all right? And vice versa if a chick is in love with another chick, all right? To each their own, all right? They can do them, I'll do me, all right? But stay in your fucking lane, all right? Don't shove it down my throat. Don't come up in my fucking face. Don't be knocking on my door. Hey, where's your fucking flag at? You know, where's your multicolored flag at? It's up your fucking ass. That's where it's at. All right? So, like, and I think people are fed up. All right? People boycotting businesses, right? Some of these corporations are losing billions and billions of dollars. Okay? And what are they doing now? Now they're pulling back on some of this, right? So I have to commend the people that are standing up and saying, you know what, enough is enough, right? You're not going to tell me how to live. You're not going to tell me how to think. You're not going to tell me who or how I need to support something or somebody, right? And it's starting to hurt these businesses. We're seeing it, okay? So I just wanted to get that out there. But this is the thing that is distracting us, all right? And that might not be the popular opinion to some of you folks on there, because I've chatted with other folks that are like-minded that say, oh, well, you know, distractions, they have their opinions on it, and I respect their opinions, all right? But my opinion is just that. It's a distraction to what is really occurring, okay? And they want us to look at that shiny object and to bitch and moan and to bicker back and forth with each other about these things, because everything else around us is collapsing and falling apart, all right? We could be looking at World War III by the end of this month. Well, we could not be. But if that's all we had to focus on, I think, in my opinion, that there would be an uproar. There would be more of a public outcry about all the money we have sent over there, okay? While our homeless veterans are sleeping in the fucking streets under cardboard boxes, right? So they have to distract us with all this mumbo-jumbo bullshit, excuse me, that's occurring. Okay. The failing banks, right? I mean, nobody heard, nobody, there's no news on that anymore, right? I mean, just at the beginning of this year, we thought that the economy was going to collapse and we were going to be paying $100 for a fucking gallon of milk. What happened to that? Right? So, this is where you have to think critically, folks. And I know I'm preaching to the choir on here, and I'm glad I am preaching to the choir, all right? Because a lot of people are awake to it and they get it, all right? But there's a lot of people out there that don't get it, right? And it's the vast majority of folks, okay? So if World War III does kick off next week, all right, and the bombs start flying, or there's an internet blackout, right, or a communications blackout, right, because that was just talked about last week, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be up Schitt's Creek, right? So, and they're just not prepared for it. There's a lot of scary shit going on out there, you know? And, you know, with that said, I'm just here to inform on what I see, all right? You know, that whole doom and gloom. Oh, you're talking doom and gloom. Well, we're preppers. we prep for the doom and gloom. All right? This shit's really happening. All right? So take that argument and go somewhere else with it. I mean, you have to see the whole picture. You got to think outside the box, you know, and that's what I try to tell people. And you have to be prepared, you know. I prepare every day. There's not a day that I take off of preparing. And I don't go overboard with it. You know, I mean, I do little by little because there is a such thing as burnout, you know. I do have a life outside of prep and I do have a life outside of YouTube. But I always prepare, guys. You know, I just got myself 15 more gallons of gasoline yesterday, you know, for my generator here at the outpost, just in case, you know. I'm looking into more storage sheds to put here on my site so I can bring some more of my preps up here from the city, you know, because I'm running out of room, which is a good problem to have here in the outpost to put my preps. So now I got to think of other options, right? So it's always, I'm always preparing, you know, because the news is ugly and I'm looking past all of the bullshit, right? All the bullshit about people fighting over which bathroom to use or what's happening this month and how you're not supporting it. I'm seeing past that, all right? And that's not what the elites want us to do. They don't want us to look past it. They want us to concentrate on that shiny object, right? And that's what you guys need to do too. So again, preaching to the choir. But I'm gonna take a little time out. I'm gonna throw some more wood on this fire, guys. All right, hang tight. Speak amongst yourselves for a minute, and I'll jump into the chat when I get back. Oh yeah, that's crackling. Hope everybody's enjoying the fire. So what's going on, chat? What did everybody do this past weekend? You know, for Mad Outdoorsman here, Sam, say that again because these comments go away, bud. What do I think about what? Anyway, like I was saying, Monday is like my Sunday night for most folks because I got Sunday nights off. Well, I got Sunday, Mondays off, so I'm back to work tomorrow. I spent the weekend chopping wood. I had another half quart of campfire wood delivered. All right, so I can have my campfires out there. Doesn't it bring peace? You know, it is so therapeutic, Casey. Yeah, you know, that's right, Josh. I know you know what time it is, my man. The dive boot that was found at that pipeline that got blown up a few months ago. Okay, I did see that, actually. Well, it's like I said earlier, towards the top of this video. The last time there was a NATO exercise, all right, right around that time, all right, what was it, September, guys? Correct me if I'm wrong. Then that pipeline blew up, okay? So that would actually give NATO the opportunity to come in and set that fire, no pun intended, to that pipeline. Sounds like they didn't clean up after themselves, Sam. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I am so blessed that I have what I have here. It took a lot of working hours, working very hard to have this little piece of paradise here. You know, this is my 17th year here in this place. And I'm up here all year long. You know, I come up here, I check on the outpost. I'll bring items to the outpost. And then I'll go out into the woods here and I'll go hiking or I'll go hunting, you know. So, and I do my winter camping out there in the woods. I love the winter camping. I mean, that's really camping. All right, this is, I wouldn't call this camping. I would call this just like, this is like a poor man's log cabin, what I got going on over here, you know. It is really camping. I love it. I love it. This past February, I actually think I did a live when I went out there. The Magic Bullet Theory, the Lost Dive Boot Crew. Smoking Gun, right? Big chap. Yeah, this past February, I went out and did some winter camping, and it was like 23 degrees below zero. And all I had was a $10 tarp that I bought at Wally World, a 0 degree sleeping bag, and a foam sleeping pad to put the sleeping bag on top of. And what I did to keep myself warm was I constructed what's called a long fire. All right, so what's a long fire, Mad? Well, a long fire, guys, is you take a standing dead tree, all right, that there's plenty of out here in the forest, all right, something that's not too thick, but like I like to use like those standing dead pine trees that are probably about 9 inches in diameter. And what I'll do is I'll cut them down with my my Silky Boy handsaw, and then I'll cut that standing dead tree up into about 3-foot sections. And what I'll do is I'll drag those sections over in front of the tarp shelter that I have erected, and I'll stack like 3 logs on top of each other, kind of like a pyramid stack, and I'll stuff a bunch of kindling in between it. Kindling is like pencil-sized dried up twigs, leaves, whatever, and I'll stuff it in between the logs, and I will light the fire on that, in that section. All right, and so what happens is those 3-foot logs go up in flames, and it's called a long fire, right? Because it's a 3-foot long fire that's probably about 6 feet in front of you. All right, and that's what kept me warm. And those long fires, if you build them right, they will last for several hours. And I slept pretty good that night. And like I said, it was 23 degrees below zero when I got out there, and I was sweating, from the hike in, and I was in a survival situation. And I talk about this a lot, guys. Putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations so you can train your body, so you can train your mind, all right, for what's to come, right? Because it is coming, all right? And this is why I do this. And, I enjoyed myself at the same time, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's a lot of work setting up a winter campsite and getting it, set up so you're safe and secure and all that fun stuff, and at the end of the day, my prize for me, the payoff for me, was laying there in my sleeping bag, checking out that long fire, underneath a clear sky filled with stars, and a belly full of ribeye steaks. Because I did bring ribeye steaks out there. I mean, let's face it, I wasn't in that much of a survival situation. I did stop at the market and pick up some ribeyes on my way out to the woods that day. But with all that said, everything else about it was uncomfortable. I was freezing my balls off. I had to make sure I got a fire going right away, to dry myself off, right? So I had to make sure that everything in my rucksack, everything that I brought out there was the correct stuff that I brought, So, but yeah, I love winter camping. I know I'm rambling on here. Going squirrel, like Casey likes to say. But yeah, I like to do that after hunting season's over. We're at 48 minutes. All right. So yeah, that's what I did this weekend. I stocked up more on my gasoline preps. Chopped up some wood. Got my walkie-talkies. And that's another thing, guys. Pilgrim Prepper, if you're leaving, have a good night, brother. Thank you for being here. Beaverines, brother. Comms, guys, comms, right? Could be an overlooked prep in your prepping supplies. And I'm not really a big comms guy, guys. I'm not. So I do got a set of walkie-talkies that have a 32-mile range on them. But let's face it, out here, I'll probably only pick up about half that. Probably not even that. But it's a good thing to have, especially when we got communications blackouts. That could be a possibility, So it's a good thing to have another option, because when you are in that SHTF, right? I was just about to ask you chatting about comps. Yeah. So I was thinking about that, Casey, and It's like if you're in an SHTF, all right, and you got a group of individuals, and I'll use this place for an example. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again tonight. This is just a staging area for me, all right, because because let's face it, sooner or later, once the cities have become overwhelmed and those people become desperate, they are going to migrate out into these rural areas, all right? And yes, this is a private campground, all right? I know the family that owns the place. The area that the campground is located is actually, it's a pretty strategic area. I got to hand it to this guy. It's like one road in, one road out, and it's about 1.5 miles to the main office, which is located way at the other side of the campground. And this campground is about 500 acres, and he doesn't let weekend people come in here. In other words, you have to be a seasonal, what they call it, a seasonal camper to be here. So I pretty much know everybody here. But with that said, you know, sooner or later people are going to be picking up on that idea. Well, let's go out to the rural areas. Let's bug out to campgrounds, you know. Excuse me. So that's why I have my plan C, which is to get out into the forest, you know. And some people, you know, they have their opinions on that. You know, oh, the forest isn't safe, Mad, you know. No. But here's the thing, guys. I'm a hunter, okay? I've been hunting these woods for a good part of 12 years, I'd say. Maybe a little, yeah, about that. And I know these woods very well. Right, and I do have other campsites set up out in this forest, which is about 4,000 acres. So I do keep that in the back of my mind, right? But anyway, back to the comms. So let's say I got a group of individuals here with me, which would be my close family, and maybe like a friend or two, okay? I would have to set up some kind of security around the site here, all right? Because my site is smack dab up against the state forest, and there are, if you walk out, there are hiking trails and there are dirt roads back there, and what's called the management area here in the state. And it would be a good idea to have some kind of secure perimeter. And what wouldn't be a better idea than to have somebody walking on that secure perimeter with a walkie-talkie that could come back here to base here and say, hey, listen, we got some bogeys coming in, you know. We got like a half dozen bogeys coming in, they're armed, you know. So having some kind of comms is definitely a good idea. And you can go right to WWIII, guys, and get a decent set of walkie-talkies for under $100, you know. And if you do have the money to spend, you know, they do have some more sophisticated options right over at WWIII. So. Comms is important. Ain't no two ways about it. Ooh, this fire is hot. Washburn Billy, thank you for being here. Yep, I agree with that too, Casey. And with the walkie-talkies, you gotta keep in mind too, guys, there might be other people listening on these channels. So if your walkie-talkie does have a privacy channel or some kind of code in it that you can set for the channel that you're on, all the more better, right? I mean, it might not be a full secure line, but it'll make it a lot more secure than, not set in that privacy mode. So keep that in mind, guys, with the walkie-talkies. Other people would be listening in. Well, I'm glad to have you, Washman Billy. I've actually seen you in other chats. Got walkies in a Bofang, not licensed to use it. Bofang. Is that like a ham radio? Again, I'm not really a big comms guy, so I don't think I've heard that term. All right, and that's another thing, guys. I don't pretend to know it all here. All right, we learn off of each other. I wish I had my walkies out here. I'd show them to you. I think it's the brand name is Cobra. Ham in 8 2-ways. Made sure everything charges. USB. Yep. Yes, it's a ham radio. Okay. Now I heard. Now is that like a handheld thing? Because I heard that there's like some option for the ham. Is that a handheld? Which I would think is pretty cool. Okay. Yeah, send it to me, Casey. And that's what I love about this community. We're always learning. Yes, handheld. Yeah. All right. That's what I figured. That's what I love about this community. You know, like knowledge is power, right? And we're all here for the same purpose. You know, and with that said, I don't understand like why. And I've seen this since I've been on this platform. Why there's other creators out there that call themselves preppers that fucking hate on each other or talk shit. You know, I don't get that. You know, I mean, I'm glad that they do because it shows me their true colors, you know. But at the same time, it's like, you call yourself a prepper, but like you're hating on this one and you're hating on that one, and you know, you're stabbing this one in the back, and it's just a bunch of fucking kids games, you know. It's like some of these motherfuckers act like they're in high school, and I'm not about that. You know, I'm me. I walk to the beat of my own drum. I don't have a filter, all right? For those of you that haven't figured it out yet. But here's the thing, I'm respectful, I'm loyal, all right? And what do I mean by that? What do I mean by being loyal? It means that I will help you out. If I say I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna help you, you know? And I'm here to pay that forward, you know? Like there's been a couple creators that have brought me up on our panels that have given me the opportunity to, you know, get known, you know? So like, for instance, Casey Little Owls one, you know, and because of that, I'm loyal to her, you know, because she has helped me. She shares information with me, and she gives me, you know, good intel, and I'd like to think we do the same. And I got mad respect for you too. I got respect for anybody here that is like-minded and wants to contribute in a positive way, you know. Exactly it, Huckleberry. Exactly it. Mm-hmm. All right, folks, we're at 59 minutes. I actually went longer than I thought I'd go tonight, you know, because I knew that the intel I had, there really wasn't much to talk about outside of what I broadcasted. But I wanted to get that out there. And again, hat tip to Casey Little Owl on sharing that with me. But I was glad that everybody made it tonight. All the usual suspects. Yankee Dave, thank you for being here. And I hope you enjoyed this tonight's broadcast, guys. All right, I will see you same time next week, Monday, 9 p.m. All right, and we will talk about how Ice Cream Man is planning to kill us next week. All right? Thank you for watching. Keep your heads on a swivel. Be about it. Don't talk about it. Mad Outdoorsman. Out.